In early 1992, one man made the Indian stock market explode overnight, using nothing but paper receipts and bank loopholes. By the time it was over, he'd shaken the entire financial system. This is how he did it, and how it all came crashing down. To understand this scam, you need to understand the moment. In 1991, India was in a foreign exchange crisis. The government had just opened up the economy to liberalization. Banks had cash sitting idle, and new rules created gaps regulators hadn't caught up to yet. Harshad Mehta was a stockbroker from a modest Mumbai family, working his way up from a small brokerage. By the early 90s, he'd become one of the most powerful players on Dalal Street, nicknamed the Big Bull for his aggressive, high-volume trading style. Banks in India were required to hold a portion of deposits in government bonds. To manage these bond trades, they used brokers as middlemen, and paper receipts, called bank receipts, or BRs, as temporary IOUs, standing in for the actual bonds during settlement. Mehta exploited this. Working with complicit bank officials, he arranged for banks to issue BRS that weren't backed by any real bonds. He'd take the funds meant for one bond deal, and instead of buying bonds, quietly funnel that money into the stock market. The money poured into a handful of stocks, ACC being the most famous, its price rising over 30 times in months. As prices climbed, more investors piled in, assuming the boom was driven by real economic growth rather than borrowed bank money. The Sensex nearly quadrupled between 1991 and 1992. Mehta became a celebrity. He appeared on magazine covers, gave interviews about his trading philosophy, and was even rumored, though never proven, to have made bold claims about bribing officials. To the public, he looked like proof that anyone could get rich in the new stock market. In April 1992, journalist Sucheta Dalal published an exposé in the Times of India, revealing that State Bank of India was missing a massive sum of money, funds that had vanished into the market instead of the government bonds. Once the scheme became public, banks scrambled to recover their money, pulling funds out of the market. Stock prices collapsed. Investors who had jumped in during the boom watched their savings evaporate. Within days, Mehta was arrested and eventually faced over 70 criminal charges. Investigations dragged on for years. He was convicted in some cases, while others remained unresolved when he passed away in 2001, while still in judicial custody. The scandal exposed massive gaps in how India regulated its banks and stock markets. In response, SEBI, the Securities and Exchange Board of India, was given much stronger powers, and new systems were introduced to prevent this exact kind of fraud from happening again. One man, one loophole, and a market that believed too much, too fast. The scam of 1992 didn't just cost investors their savings. It rebuilt the rules of Indian finance from the ground up.